Hi, this is Jennie Walker, and welcome to Closet Conversations. Today I want to talk to you about the new seller trade program from The Real Real. This is something that I had heard about and actually mentioned in another podcast where I had heard that they'll offer an upfront payout for things, and I had heard that from someone who had a handbag they wanted to consign, and it was a Chanel handbag, and I think they were offered $1,500 for it, and they chose not to do that, which is how it ended up with me. But I was thrilled and excited to get this email today because I'm on their email list, and it talks all about it. What you can do is for only 3 categories for handbags, sneakers, or jewelry, you can bring it in and get a quote for potential upfront payout, or you can get a site credit for shopping. And I just think that's genius because it takes the consignor out of the middle. You take ownership of it, and then you have control. You can control the markdown. You can control what you sell it for, the profit margin. And it sort of gives you a more opportunity to have a bigger profit too, because generally, at least in our store, if we're paying up front, we're not going to pay them as much as if we had tried to consign it. So it's going to, let's say if I have a 50-50 consignment split on something, I'm not going to offer you 50% to buy it outright. I'm going to offer you less than that. In the case of something that's a 60-40 split, something where we pay 60% because it's over $2,500, perhaps I would offer you closer to 50 or 40 to 50 on that because I know more about it. But this is just fantastic, and I think that there's a lot more money to be made when you own something and when you can acquire it for a really, really good amount. And it looks like this is something that is going to be the wave of the future with them, and I have to tell you, I think it's terrific. I think this gives an opportunity to have better and higher revenues. It certainly alleviates a lot of the problems you might have with someone being disappointed because, quite frankly, if somebody offers you something, you just say no if it's not enough. Or you negotiate and you say, sorry, I'm not going to take X, I want Y. And this is great because you can do it all up front. And I just wanted to pop in and tell you how much I thought that was such a great idea for them to be focused on this. Now, I don't personally deal in sneakers. I have sold 1 or 2 pair over the course of my reselling business. I don't know anything about it other than it's a hot area and people love trading Yeezys and everything else. And I think that's great. And so it's interesting. It tells you right there what are the 3 top categories for The Real Real. You know it's handbags, you know it's sneakers, you know it's jewelry, which might explain why when you look at the pricing on the clothing on their site that it's all at 1, it's all over the place, but 2, they don't price it very high. And I will agree, in our consignment shop, the number 1 category is handbags. Just is. And sure, the clothes sell, but they sell at a much slower rate compared to the number of items that we have of them. And, sometimes I call it a happy accident when they move at all because people really, really want the handbags. They just do. And it's an appetite that's ferocious. And it's you have to keep feeding the beast. But at the same time, it's really exciting to think that there's this much demand for something that you can be supplying. The email goes on to say that they offer free styling appointments there at the LA store. And also that you can consign in-store and get a $50 to shop. And this goes back to what I was assuming in my previous podcast on The Real Real, that these stores are meant for consigners. They're meant to get the consigner. They're meant to get the product. And I'm looking at all these incentives right here, everything in the world to come in and see what we'll pay you and, shop while you're there and free. I mean, they've run out of things to offer me to get me in there. And that really goes to show that these drop-off points are going to be central to them as they continue to build their consignor base. And one of the things I found really interesting about consigners is that, there are what I call the repeat consigners and the one-off consigners. Your ideal consignor is someone who consumes a lot of fashion. Perhaps they have a very high social life and engagements where they are seen a lot and can't be photographed too many times in the same outfit. Perhaps it's a celebrity. In those instances, the people who, change their wardrobe every 2 years, that's your ideal consignor because they can consign with you again and again. But there's mostly what we've experienced is what I call the one-off. It's someone who's cleaning out their closet and they watched a Marie Kondo episode. They've cleaned it out. They're feeling really good. They're purging, but you're probably not going to see them again. This also is the case with estates. We've had things for people who went into assisted living, people who were actual estates, and obviously that's a one-off. Once you sell it through, they're not coming back. So a lot of times you have to understand what the motivation is behind a consignor. So with I would say the smaller percentage being the person who consigns again and again, you have to constantly look for a lot of one-off situations. So that means you're going to be acquiring people again and again and again and again in order to grow. And to think that they're going to incentivize you with money to shop and all these styling programs, I think that's a great way to do it. And certainly this upfront payout or trade-in, I think that's a really fantastic and clever way to do it, because if you're giving them trade-in and they're going to get something, then it really didn't cost you as much, because it's the whole buy, sell, trade concept of Buffalo Exchange and Crossroads Trading, Plato's Closet. When you trade, think about it. You're making a lot more money when they use that trade credit because you didn't have to give them cash. And I think that's a really clever thing to do as the company works to increase their revenues and build their margins and find ways to continue to expand. So that's really all I had to say about it. I think it's terrific. If you've not signed up for The Real Real, get on their email list, go to the local one in your area, go online and check out their store. There's a lot to be learned by the leader in luxury consignment, and I will continue to follow them and report on them as I learn things that, hey, I didn't know. So I got to get down to that LA store and quick, because I feel like there's a hole. My mama used to say when I didn't know something, she'd say, "Now, daughter, there's a hole in your education." And there is. I got to get down there and see the LA store so I can talk about it better to you. So I look forward to getting down there. But until then, I will continue to report what I know from the sources that I have. So thank you for listening. This is Jennie Walker with Closet Conversations. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please give it 5-star ratings. Any positive feedback is terrific. I also have a lot of other podcasts on this channel, including several more on The Real Real, and I will begin posting more on that company as is appropriate. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.